Especially now in the age of Trump, there's a lot of scapegoating of immigrant communities and a push to criminalize us, to have it understood that Latino community is a criminal one.
Maybe I am misunderstanding something. Are all Latinos immigrants? I mean, am I supposed to assume that if I see someone who appears to be of Latin descent, that they are not a native-born U.S. citizen? Isn't that kinda racist?
We're trying to create those pockets of power here in our communities to be able to stand up against these attacks.
These attacks, such as...
People think that because they're undocumented, because they don't have papers, because they're not from here, that they don't have the same rights as everybody else does, and that's not true. Folks have rights that are protected by the Constitution.
Actually, our speaker is wrong in the one case and right on the other. While illegal immigrants are afforded many of the same rights and protections under the Constitution as legal citizens, they don't get all of them. They cannot, for example, vote in state and national elections. Also, if an illegal immigrant is arrested within 100 miles of a border and has been in the country for less than 2 weeks, their removal from the country is expedited by law, which circumvents many of the due process protections held by citizens. And in immigration court, poor or destitute defendants have no right to have an attorney provided for them, as citizens do under the Sixth Amendment. Illegal immigrants do have many of the same rights as citizens, but they do not have all of the same rights as citizens. Protecting sanctuary cities. Protecting them from what? Federal laws? Well, good luck with that. But this isn't really about protecting sanctuary cities, as we'll see. It's more about intersectionality and the commingling of claimed oppressions.
The Black community and the Latino community, we face so many of the same conditions and the same attacks. If we are able to kind of forge unity between those two communities, and that makes our struggles, our causes that much stronger.
Okay, again, maybe I am missing something. What does merely being Black or Latino have to do with people who come to this country illegally? If you are here legally, whatever your ethnicity, what does being in a sanctuary city have to do with anything?
I think it's important for immigrant communities to understand the history of criminalization of Black folks in this country is very similar in the ways that it's looking to criminalize. So it's really important for us to build these solidarities and show up for each other in this movement.
So you want immigrant communities to equate their situation today with how Blacks were treated in the past. You want them to be afraid of being treated badly and see themselves as inherently oppressed. You are fearmongers. Got it. Yes, it is very true. The Obama administration took a relatively soft stance on the enforcement of immigration laws. That was the conclusion you wanted me to take away from those statistics, wasn't it?
Cracks down on sanctuary cities. Calls for the tripling the number of ICE officers.
Feeling the force of the system that we're up against in this moment is particularly hard. The state is incredibly violent and outwardly anti-immigrant in this moment, right?
Right? No, they are anti-illegal immigrant. Why do you feel so comfortable equating law-abiding immigrants with criminals?
So the hope is that we can build a community defense model The idea is to give folks the capacity to defend themselves.
Defend themselves against ICE? Okay. And how would you advise illegal immigrants to defend themselves against law enforcement?
Our organization is located in the Fruitvale district. It's the heart of the Latino immigrant community in Oakland, and we connect people with resources, making sure that people know their rights as immigrants, whether you have papers or not.
Know your rights, whether you have papers or not. Well, if they have papers, they're not here illegally, are they? Thus, being in a sanctuary city is meaningless, isn't it?
We have a 24/7 hotline where folks can report if ICE is outside their house, if ICE is at their job, if ICE is at their neighbor's house, if ICE is on the BART train. And we'll go out and we'll help document, we'll help support people through that situation.
So, you have established a system of alerting people who are here illegally that law enforcement is in the area. So, you're spotters, letting criminals know that the cops are coming. Got it.
A lot of folks call the hotline about, oh, a family member was stopped by the police, pulled over by the police. They might not have gone to trial or anything to prove if they actually committed any type of crime, but at the jail, they were detained by ICE, and then they are caught up in the immigration system. So we hear stories like these all the time.
They were detained by ICE, but not for having committed any crime. But being in the country illegally is a crime. You know, sometimes this outright denial of reality crosses over into the land of outright delusion.
I think a big goal for us is to set the terms on what it means to be safe in our communities. It doesn't mean increased policing, it doesn't mean increased ICE.
Oh, so the city of Oakland needs less law enforcement in order to increase safety. The residents of Oakland know well enough how to police themselves. Got it.
For me, a signifier of progress would be that people don't just stand around and let it happen, that our neighbors, that our community members, that the people that we go to church with put themselves on the line and prevent that from happening.
The people of Oakland need to put themselves on the line to prevent what from happening? The enforcement of immigration laws? Residents need to what? Actively obstruct federal law enforcement? Well, I guess the mayor of Oakland has already set a good example in that regard.
So you're ready to go to jail over this?
Yes.
Mayor, how real do you think this,
Yes.
the story's like?
And I am very, very curious to see how that works out for her.
Seeing resilience from our members and seeing the ways that they show up every day for themselves, for their families, for their communities is incredibly inspiring. That's the hope with the work that we do, to create change at a grassroots level and reclaim our cities.
Reclaim your cities. From what? Federal law enforcement? Well, you know what would greatly reduce the presence of ICE in your city? Not branding yourself as a safe haven for illegal immigrants. Not encouraging people to risk their safety, their freedom, or their lives by crossing into this country illegally. Not spitting in the face of legal immigrants who played by the rules to come here and to live here. Otherwise, it seems to me that sanctuary cities need to be taken back from people like you. As always, thank you for watching.